Hey, welcome, fam. Welcome back to Paranormal Musings podcast. Pretty much going to do what we did last episode. We're just going to shoot the crap, shoot the shit, whatever you want to say. We're going to talk about some stuff. We all know who I am, Terry T. Paranormal. Uh, Larry, you want to start it off and let us know who you are and what you're about.
Sure. My name is Larry Lawson. I am the director of the Florida Bureau of Paranormal, very paranormal. Bleh.
Easy for you to say.
Awesome.
Start out. You're going to take. Are you editing this at all? I hope. Anyway,
No,
Larry Lawson. I'm the director of the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation in Vero Beach, Florida. I'm also the owner of Indian River Hauntings LLC. We're a paranormal tour and events organization that couples with my investigative team. We're, like I said, we're out of Vero Beach, Florida. You can check us out at IndianRiverHauntings.com, and we do have a YouTube channel with a lot of our work on it at Indian River Hauntings 2341. If you are wanted to check us out, so that's me, tongue tied and all.
uh, all right. We're going to go with the new guy, Brian.
Hey, Brian from Paranormal Adventures. My girlfriend Donna is not here with me, was investigates with me. We're based out of Delray, but we've investigated all over the place in Florida and a lot around the country. I'm also going to say it. I'm probably the only paranormal investigator who actually appeared in Ghostbusters. So I'll have to throw that out.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Rich?
I'm Rich with CFL Paranormal. You can find us here in Melbourne, Florida. We also do a lot of work with Brian from Paranormal Adventures. We travel with him when he travels as well. It's me and my wife that travels with him. We have a Facebook page, CFL Paranormal. You can also go to our Instagram, CFL Paranormal, CFL _paranormal there, and check us out. We've got all of our not all of everything, but some of our footage and stuff on the Facebook page and stuff. If you want to, see some REM pods going off and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's us.
All right. And everybody knows who I am, so I'm not going to explain, Aloysius, whatever. But you probably noticed somebody's missing today. My good pal, partner, Cordell. Unfortunately, he was abducted by aliens, and he was able to make a call. I don't know how, but he was able to make a call and something about a probe. I'm not going to go into that. So, love you, little buddy. He's not going to be happy that it just happened, but whatever. You gotta jab each other. But yeah, Cordell, he had a family thing going on where I'm probably messing this up, but I think his niece had something going on. Don't know if it was sports related or whatever. But as a good uncle, he wanted to be there, and I support him. So yeah, he'll be back. And he's got a great place, paranormal spot to talk about. So we're not going to talk about that today because that's his thing, and I want him to run that. So, but he's got a great place, and when he sent it to me, I was like, "Heck yeah, man! That I'm down to do that." But without further ado, since he's not here, Rich was kind enough to come up with something. So, Rich, it's all yours, brother.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. So today I just wanted to talk a little bit about the different types of hauntings that we as investigators experience. What our thoughts are on some of these things we experience. For i.e. the tape recorder, the tape stone, the stone tape theory. You know what I mean? Where it's said that there's a lot of maybe the buildings that are made out of stone or wood experience the trauma and events that happen in these buildings that we investigate and store that information, sort of like that. And then obviously you have intelligence and residual hauntings and that sort of thing. Just kind of wanted to go over kind of that stuff and to see what you guys' thoughts were on all of that, and just to maybe talk about some of the experiences we've had with any of it, just to let people know that it's out there and it exists, that sort of thing. So I know. Getting back to like the residual, I'll start with the residual hauntings. I mean, it's said that the residual hauntings it plays over and over. It's like a loop, right? And it's an event or trauma or something that just happens over and over and over again. And people have seen it. Like it can be audible, it can be visual, that sort of thing. What have you guys experienced any residual hauntings as of late in your investigations, and what have you seen, Larry?
Well, I have not had any recent residual events. Probably the one that I'm most familiar with is in the Marsh Landing restaurant in Fellsmere, where the owner, Fran Adams, has seen a number of times over the years a woman in white kind of floating from one end of the building to the other. You cannot get her attention. She doesn't change the way she goes. She doesn't look around. It's just from point A to point B and she's gone. Classic residual haunt. And I think that's kind of an interesting subject, Rich, simply because there's an argument in the field. Is that truly a haunting, or is that simply energy that's been stored that is releasing itself? And does it actually fit into the same category as a haunting, or if you want, an intelligent haunt? So I think it's an interesting subject to look into further.
Well, I think if you happen to see something floating across the room, whoever saw that isn't really going to be too concerned whether it was intelligent or residual. They're either going to be really excited or be running away,
Yeah, that's true.
And isn't it great how they're always wearing white? Apparently, if you don't want to come back, don't wear white, because it's always a woman in white on the side of a road or floating across the restaurant. Never somebody in black or red. It's always a guy in white. I mean, so a woman in white and a guy in black, always.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
I'm gonna wear blue when I come back. I'm gonna wear blue because that's my favorite color.
But the question is whether is it energy that's stored that's releasing itself, or is it an entity or a spirit that is stuck in some sort of capsule that they can't get out of, and that's how they're seen. I mean, I've heard that argument also. I tend to lean towards the energy that's stored up and just letting itself come out at certain times with certain triggers. But I've heard both arguments. But it's like I said, an interesting subject.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at with that as well. I think it's definitely some stored energy within that realm. Not to say that without the realm of possibility that it's not an apparition that's doing that, because it certainly can be. If they're stuck in, like you said, maybe some kind of capsule or something that.
Well, I think Brian brings up a good point. We're sitting in a restaurant and we see this. We're going to get excited. Maybe the table next to us is going to get up and run, and they're going to look at it as a ghost. But what do you guys think? Is it truly a spirit as we define it? And I don't think there's really truly an accurate description of what a spirit is. But what do you guys think? Is that actually a spirit, or is it just energy releasing itself?
Honestly,
that's interesting. Yeah, like, is it just I mean, maybe is it not a spirit and it's just like, I don't know, some little energy that just like a video recorder, boom. Like, I don't know. That's an interesting thought. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Brian?
I don't really think about it, honestly. It's literally completely irrelevant to me. I mean, if I judge something, like you said, using your example, if people over and over see the same type of thing going through, that to me, I would tell somebody it's a residual. But whether it is or not, it doesn't really affect me one way or the other. I'm hoping to get something, and whether it's intelligent, I can interact with it or not, I'm still going to go do what I'm going to do. So I never, honestly, it doesn't affect me one way or the other. I'm here to do, hopefully, what I'm going to do, and I don't really care what it wants to consider itself, and I don't think it cares what we consider it either. It's going to do what it's going to do.
But if it's just that residual energy that's popping out, is it even sentient, such as an intelligent haunt would be? Right. And if
does
we
it even know we're looking?
Yeah, and if we are able to identify that specifically as not just energy and not even a sentient being of any sort, will that help us figure out exactly what the intelligent haunts are? Would that be one thing we could take off the table and then concentrate on the intelligent haunts and
it could be
how that's occurring?
It could be in its own dimension that doesn't see us.
And I've heard that argument too. Yeah, I've heard
Yeah,
that
yeah.
argument too.
One
Yeah.
of those things, man, out there that just keeps me interested.
I mean,
It's like,
that's what keeps us all coming back, though.
yeah,
You know, that's the thing
yeah,
that we're looking for as investigators. You
yeah.
know, and
Does
Well,
it know?
and
Does
that,
it not know? You know,
yeah, we don't know.
but do we
yeah,
really even know? Can
we
anybody
don't.
definitively say what this
Yeah,
phenomenon is? And we have not
mm,
reached that point yet. We don't have
No.
a piece of equipment that unequivocally says this is somebody from the other side. We've got lots of stuff that tells us something's going on, and I certainly think that it helps us. But we really don't know any of the answers yet.
Yeah.
no, we
Absolutely,
don't.
that's correct.
Yeah, yeah, we don't know.
Well, someone's going to invent a piece of equipment real soon that's going to give us
And
those answers, right?
you're gonna buy it
Uh-oh.
the next day.
Well,
Uh-oh.
yeah,
Hold on,
that
hold on.
bingo.
Hold,
That
hold on. Is somebody doing this right now who's on this channel right now? Is anybody doing this?
What are we doing?
Oh, okay.
Did I miss something?
No, a piece of equipment that is going to tell us this.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not smart enough
Anybody
myself.
working on this?
I'm
Oh,
not
Oh,
I,
smart
wait.
enough.
I thought
I,
we were going there. I was
I,
like,
I just,
Oh,
I
okay.
just,
okay,
buy, I
gotcha.
just buy the equipment. I don't work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, is somebody working on this? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on?
Well, that's the one thing, and I use equipment too. I think we need to, and we have our certain protocols that we use the equipment under. But I think sometimes we also get too dependent on it because
Yeah.
that light goes off on that REM pod, it's automatically a spirit. Well, it may be, but it may be something else. Uh, and we've got to, and I wish somebody would come up with a piece of equipment that can give us more accurate information. I love do you guys know the EDI plus? Any of
Sure.
you guys use the EDI? That to me is my favorite piece of equipment because you put the SD card in there, you run it, and you actually get data. So if you get a voice and at the same time on your EDI, you're graphing it and you see at that point the temperature dropped or the barometric pressure changed, you've got some coordination of evidence.
Somebody posted on that on Facebook the other day, and I shared because anytime I see anybody post about that piece of equipment, I automatically put in this post about that piece that Higgy Pop wrote, I think a couple years ago. I'm not going to say he debunked a lot of the data that thing collects, but it's
Mhm.
certainly a very, very interesting piece. And I'll put it on my page again so you can see it because it really is very, very point specific about what it does and
Mhm.
and what it falters at. So I use equipment all the time. Sometimes stuff isn't
Mhm.
great. So after you read that, you might have some more interesting thoughts about it.
That's it. Well, that's what I was getting at before. There is no piece of equipment that
Absolutely.
definitively tells us anything. So the best we can hope for is getting 3 or 4 pieces that are telling us the same thing at the same time, and that at least gives us something to begin to work with.
The only reason why I ever started doing this, after watching Ghost Adventures for years and years and never thinking all these people were lying, just never really giving it any thought, is I decided to take an EMF meter and I went to the Oak Lawn Cemetery in Tampa by myself on Halloween during the day and my little, $30 Sony 370 recorder. And I did a couple sessions and I did stuff. Didn't think it was a big deal. Didn't even listen to my stuff for a month because I just wasn't that excited, didn't really care. And a month later, I finally listened. And there's one point where I go, wow, my meter just turned yellow. And at the same exact instant, I got my first EVP that said either
There you
kill
go.
or kill me. So thank God I said out loud and got it on the audio that my meter just moved and bounced to yellow because that was to me, like you just said, two
Perfect.
independent things. So that's
Yeah.
literally what put me on this path. 250 investigations later.
Yeah, because you never would have known that. You had the two pieces of evidence right there together. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So and then Larry, you mentioned also too, about intelligent hauntings. And that would be my next, subject here. Like, so intelligent hauntings, we all understand them as they're intelligent. They're gonna give us responses back when we ask for them, whether it be a REM pod or something like that going off. Or even knocks on the wall, that sort of thing, or bangs on the roof, or
or answer to your question.
Yeah, or answer the question right through the recorders that we use as well. So what are your thoughts on that, sir, Larry?
Again, well, I think if you can get evidence of an intelligent haunt, and mostly that comes if you can't get it on camera, which let's face it, we rarely do. But if you
Right.
can get it on your recorder, that's pretty spectacular. And I've had a couple of really significant events along those lines. One was at an old prison that we were getting ready to do just an investigation, and we were in there during the day doing a prelim. It was an old prison here in Indian River County that had closed down, a state prison, and we were going through it and just checking out the whole place. But we had a recorder going. We had my son makes a comment. You know, it's a shame they were locked up in life and they're still locked up in the afterlife. Didn't think twice about it, but we had the recorder going. Played the recording back, and it's tough to it's really not tough to hear, but to get the words clear, you have to have headphones on. And the response was, "Hell, we ain't dead." That was pretty awesome. And then at the old school in Fellsmere, one of my guys was up in the auditorium with a few of the other folks in the team, and there's a little boy there that we identify as Billy. Don't know if that's his name, but that's how he responds to us. And Mark Holt, one of my team members, makes the comment, recorder going, "Billy, is this the room you like to be in?" And this is on my website also. Little boy's voice came over. "Yes, sir." Just like that. And there were no kids in that building. It was like 8 o'clock at night. I tell you, there was no kids in that building. And so yeah, those intelligent haunts, you get that. That's kind of what gets my blood flowing, because they're responding to you. And it's almost like at that moment, everything is aligned and you're able to communicate. And I have a theory about that, but I won't bore you with it right now. So
Brian, what about you, sir?
Well, some of my favorites were at the Grafton Ghost Town in Utah. We spent about an hour there. It was like 6 p.m., 100 degrees. We were exhausted from driving, and we're about to leave. Donna ran to the car, and I said, "I'm never probably coming back." I turned around, turned on my recorder for the last 30 seconds, and said, "Must really be spooky here at night." Get back in the car, hit play, hear my question, and then a response clear as day that just says, "Oh yeah." I mean, it's beautifully, probably my best DVP I've ever caught. It's unbelievable. In terms of other stuff, Alcatraz, I was by the solitary section, and I said, "Anybody want to meet me in the shower?" And my spirit box said, "Sure do." And I said, "Did you say you want to meet me in the shower?" He goes, "Yep," with a southern accent. That was great. And on the Intrepid, on my second investigation there, I brought a recording of a kamikaze jet, because about 60 naval men were killed in the hangar deck when a kamikaze blew through the deck. So I played the recording of the kamikaze plane coming in while I was recording. And my at that time, my SB-11, and this voice said, "The enemy is coming."
Wow.
And then I went to the wall where they have the names of them that were dead, and I said, "What would you want us to know about you?" And this voice, clear as day, said that we're heroes. So that was pretty awesome.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy, man.
yeah.
Yeah, that's I think I've had some pretty interesting responses myself on, some of these investigations I've had, particularly here in Melbourne. And I think I've touched on this with you, Terry, and maybe even you as well, Larry. But I was I don't know, do you guys know who Ethel Allen is? She was a lady up in 90 or whatever. And I went to her gravesite and I asked her the simple question of, "Hey, Ethel, do they say that they found you on the banks of the Indian River, mutilated and beaten? Is that true?" And clear as day, it said, I got a voice that said, "It is," in a girl's voice, right that second. So that to me was one of my best pieces of evidence. And aside from the old jail in St. Augustine too, man, where the REM pod going off, because we were in the death row cells, and I had set a REM pod up on one of the bunks where the inmates would sleep, and I had my son Cody, because he's also my partner in this team, and we were in the middle of an Estes method, and all of a sudden the REM pod just started going crazy, and I walk over to tap him, and I tap him on the shoulder, and he comes out, he's like, "What?" And then I clearly hear this voice come through the headphones go, "More," and then all of a sudden the REM pod went even crazier. And he goes, "I just heard more," and the REM pod went lit all the way up to blue or whatever. And I'm asking questions, at the same time, how are you doing this? Who is there doing this? And if you look closely, right after he says "more," there's an orb, like a big, not like a ball of dust orb though. It was like a white light that just shot from the bunk straight to to the roof of the jail, and it's pretty crazy, because that was one of the more energetic findings that I had. You know what I mean? It was pretty cool. So
it really is crazy when you get answers like this. I mean, it's absolutely it boggles my mind every time I do this and somebody responds to me. I just it's not usually till I get home and I realize what somebody just said to me, and it just absolutely blows me away.
Oh yeah, I agree. We were doing an investigation 2 weeks ago, and I know I don't do a lot of residentials, but we were doing this one because of the date of the house and some things that had gone on there. And we knew of a little girl that had been in the area because of another business that we had investigated, and it was connected to this house too. And we asked if what Spanky, one of my lead investigator for the team, asked the question, little girl, do you like to hide under the house? Do you like to go into the house to play hide and seek? And this is off actually a spirit box. Clear as a bell, little girl's voice said, no, not you bet was the other one. It said, that's me. She said, that's me. I mean, it was like as clear as that. And, there's questions on spirit boxes and stuff, but there was no question.
Yeah.
We asked the question, that's me, or just bam, bam, that quick.
The whole thing with spirit spot questions, I love the people. And again, I didn't believe in any of this till I got that response in Oklahoma. So I get it to a point, but the whole point for me is I'm a really logical person. And once that happened to me, I knew logically I couldn't explain any other answer except that was somebody who wasn't here. So when people always say, but, radio, that's why I always introduce us when I go someplace, and always, and Rich knows this, always later we'll say, do you remember what our names are? That was my goal, was to hear my name.
Yeah.
Because who's going to tell me it's a radio station? So, when that finally happened the first time, I was like, make an excuse for that,
Well, and that's what got me excited. I used to think it was a bunch of hogwash too, but I had a team come up, War Party Paranormal, came up to the old school in Fellsmere, and this is back in, I want to say 2017. And they had a portal. They just bought their first portal, and we were in a special room in the building. And I'm listening to it, and it's, hey, how many people are in the room? 8. How many including you? 9 or something like that. It was pretty accurate. What are our names? So. But then I thought I'd be a smart aleck, and I said, what city are we in? Now, if you guys ever heard of Fellsmere, I know, Rich, you probably have.
Yeah.
But it's just a tiny little burg in the middle of nowhere. And you'd expect over a piece of equipment like this, Orlando, West Palm, even Melbourne, right? But a voice came back and said, Fellsmere. So I was kind of taken back. I wait for a couple minutes. We ask a few more questions. And I said, what city did you say we were in again? Fellsmere. That's when I realized, and that's when I began to really study this phenomenon of radio frequencies and whatnot. And I think personally, and it's just my opinion, I think if we ever get a breakthrough, it's going to be through that. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I know. It's just crazy. I just recently at the train station, man. Terry, I went back and played that, and I got name checked, man. They called my name out. So with a southern accent, says Richard, and then it says, "Hey, help me!" Like immediately after, I was like, "Well, who am I supposed to be helping here?" Had I known that when I was there, because it was kind of a low volume when I was there. Maybe I would have responded differently, but
That's why I try to go live with my headphones. Even I'm still going to miss 80% of it, but if I can make an extra 10% of that, I'm going to hear live on the headphones. I got a great. We were investigating the last fort that Sherman hit before he conquered Savannah, about 20 miles southwest of Savannah, and we went there first thing, so there was nobody there with us. We had the entire fort to ourselves, and we were just about done. And I said, there must be a lot of Confederates here, and I got this great southern accent, like you just said. They're not. And I just walked away again going like, somebody from like freaking 1864 just spoke to me. It just boggles my mind,
It's so amazing, man.
Absolutely amazing.
And it'll never cease to amaze me either,
No. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So why is it that very rarely do folks get to experience something like this? What are your thoughts on that?
I think part of it is the energy you put out.
Mm-hmm.
And the time you invest. I do a lot of research and wherever I go usually, and I try not, especially if we're going to go to someplace that gets investigated all the time. My whole point of view is, why should they talk to me? Especially if you're in one of these tourist places, and they're going to get the same crap every freaking week. hearing the same crap. Why should you talk to me? Why should you be interested? How can I make it interesting for you?
Yeah.
So I try to ask really interesting questions. I got questions, that whether it's about their family or their favorite food, and just interacting with them. And I also believe I'm giving them an opportunity they don't usually have to interact with somebody who's still alive. So in a sense, I still think I'm doing them a favor. But I totally, but I really think that part of it is just the energy you're putting out. And I think they can feel that.
Do you
Yeah,
think
I
a
like
place
that.
can get?
That's something you don't think about. Yeah, I like that.
Do you think a place can be fished out? And you hit it right on the head. A lot of the popular places, they see people coming in every week, and folks seem to think that these are not circus animals. These are not entities that are going to respond at our command, at our whim. They're going to talk to you if they feel like it. So
Exactly.
can a place get fished out? And I say it can. I can. After a while, they're like, dude, I've had it. I need a break. I'm taking a vacation.
Well, that's the whole
Something along those
point.
lines.
So you got to be the guy that stands out if you want them to talk to you. I know Terry heard me say it in the depot, and I said when they kept responding, and I said, "You're not a circus act. I know you're not trained to respond, but we'd appreciate it if you could do something." So I at least acknowledging that. I don't think they get that from a lot of people.
Yeah, I wonder if they're looking at us like, oh, here comes another pushy salesman type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many people out there that do this, and I've got a coin or a phrase that I use, and there's nothing. This is not derogatory. I wrote a little blog on it, and it's called Paranormal Thrill Seekers. There are folks. Why do folks jump out of a perfectly good airplane? Why? Because it's a thrill, and they keep doing it. Why do people do this a lot of times? To catch that bump in the night, to catch that odd EVP. But they do it on the weekend. They forget about it. There's so few of us that actually take the time to actually try and research it and try to find what the answers are. But so many more are those thrill seekers, and they got to get tired of that. They just got to get tired of that after a while.
Yeah. I know a few people that are like, I'm doing it for the thrill, which I get.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't come down on them. It's that we're people. That's what we love doing stuff. Like we love getting scared. We that rush. But like you said, I do it. I always tell people because I want to know. I just want to know if something, it's not for the thrill for me, but I definitely get that, and it can be.
We all get a thrill out of it.
Yeah, it can be thrilling sometimes.
Well, one of the questions I started asking somewhat recently is, are you happy where you are?
Yeah.
Do you get to see your family? Where are you? And I've gotten a couple of Class C responses, which is frustrating, but eventually if you ask it enough, it took me a year to get a response I understood with what is your favorite food, but I finally got an answer. Same thing with who's the president. It took I don't know how many investigations until I finally got an answer. So I'll get an answer one day, hopefully. But those are the questions I ask. At least they're interacting. It's not I see 4 people. I mean, Terry, when we did the train depot, you were in the room with us in the car when I said how many people here, and it said 4. That's great. But again, it's kind of like the circus animal thing. You have to make it interesting for them. Talk about your family. Did you have any children?
That car. I know somebody said something about knocks earlier. Remember we got the knocks?
That's the only place out of all my investigations I've ever gotten out.
Everything. Yeah, on the roof and everything. We kept getting the knocks and
Well, Gold Coast we got a bang. That wasn't a knock, right, Rich?
Yeah, that was a bang.
That was a bang. That wasn't a knock. But yeah, those knocks were crazy.
Yeah, we had I forget his name, but me and him were sitting in the train car by ourselves and asked the question.
Excuse myself for just a second, guys. Hang on.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we got a knock answer or whatever, and then I was like, "Did you hear that?" And he goes, "Yeah," and then asked it right again, and it came right back, and I was like, "Huh."
Yeah,
but it kept happening. It kept happening. Like I've been there before, and nothing. I just had the feeling of something standing behind me over by the stove area.
Was it a heavy feeling?
Entire night. It not heavy. It wasn't like angry. It just. I was asking for the cook. Because they think it's the cook, and I'm like, "Hey, are you here? You here? You here?" And it took a while, and then it just felt like somebody walked right behind me, leaned over, and was checking out what I was doing.
Were you in there when we heard the whole train car shift?
What's that?
Were you there with us when it sounded like somebody was in the back on the left side of the train car? And that was
remember when I was in the corner and I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, it sounds like somebody's over here."
right. I thought somebody was back there that we just didn't know
Yeah,
about. That was insane.
right by that stove area. I was like, "It feels like it sounds like somebody's here," because you can hear. I got to get the video, shorten out, but I took a step or leaned back, and I was like, you can hear me go, "That was me." And then I'm standing there, and then I heard the creak again. And I looked and I was like, did anybody else hear that?
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't me. It was me the first time, but that
Right.
was not me.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, somebody's standing there.
Yeah.
like they were with us, and then
That was
I didn't get
crazy.
anything else, but that was pretty cool.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Would you say that would go back to then the residual hauntings as far as like footsteps? Because they there are some research done that or beliefs I should say that say that footsteps are part of a residual haunting type of thing.
I don't know because all I've heard, I've only been there twice, and I mean it could be. We got the whistling. The first time I was there, we had a lady, she caught whistling on a recorder. I never caught any whistling. I wasn't in there when she called it, but she played it for us. So you could hear it. Um, but that could be, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It could be either or, right? It could be, they're interacting with us because they're asking, or it could be, this is what I do. I'm in here cooking, man, whistling away.
I missed. I'm sorry, I missed.
Know.
I'm sorry, I missed a bunch of that. Sounds like a place you guys got to get me to. But
That's the
I think
Brooksville Train Depot.
The where?
Brooksville Train Depot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll get you. But I think if it's got to be a
Pull those
residual, you've got to have some sort of consistent, documented, consistent pattern of it happening all the time before you could say it's residual.
Which they have over there in that train car. They have all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like we all say, we don't know if it's actually residual or not because he could be interacting with us. We don't know.
And frankly, I still don't care if he's a residual.
Yeah, and then
it doesn't affect what I'm going to do. I don't really care.
When he leaned over me, when I felt him behind me that first time, I don't think that was residual. I don't think that was residual. I think that was him going, "What are you doing?
Hey,
checking you out."
Yeah.
It didn't feel mean. It didn't feel angry. Any of that. It was just like you get that feeling, and you're like, "Okay, somebody's on me.
Somebody's there." Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then, but then we have the other. How about the other alleged spirit in there? In the back of the car, the dark shadow man that goes from left to right. I've never seen it, never dealt with it, but people have seen that a lot. Is that residual, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I've tried and tried and tried to get it to interact, and nothing.
Stop trying.
So could that be residual, where it just on its own clock just does something?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think it's just again, nothing ever ceases to amaze me in this field that we're in. That we're doing, and I'm relatively new to it. Brian and Larry, you guys have been doing this for a lot longer than me. You've experienced way more than me, so I'm still out here, trying to experience what you guys are saying.
Here's the kicker, Rich.
Yeah.
We may have been doing it longer than you, but we're not any closer to the answers than you are.
Oh man, I was hoping that was going to happen on this podcast.
Nah, I hate to disappoint.
It's not going to happen here. Not with me anyway. I've been doing this since 07, 08, and it's a mystery still. It's a mystery.
It's almost like golf. They say golf, you might suck the whole time. You get that last great shot and you got to come back.
The last one.
And I said, back. And for a long time when I was doing this in the beginning, in the location, I wouldn't think I got anything. I'm like, this sucks. And I was at the oldest building in Homestead. I forgot the name of the hotel. And my girlfriend was in the shower, and I did like a 15-minute spirit box section. And I think I got nothing. And I go home and listen. I got tons of responses. I said, I'm never going to think I got nothing again. And since then, I never do. Because I know I'm going to capture 40% more than I actually thought I heard. And then listen, and actually it's even more. So I never expect anything. And it seems like it's always a lot better than I ever expected. So
yeah.
I can't get over how many times we've gone to a place expecting nothing.
Nothing.
And it just hits us right in the face. And then you go to a place where, tonight's going to be a hopping night, and it's dead in a doorknob. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's I like you go to a place and you don't think anything is happening. You don't hear anything. And like you said, Brian, sometimes you start listening to stuff and you're like, "What? I don't remember that."
We were in the Rich and I and our groups were in the presidential dining car at the Gold Coast Museum. So we got our spirit box on. There are 5 of us sitting at the table, and the spirit box is on. And I go home and I listen, and it responded to a question on the spirit box that I hear on the recording. So if the recording picked it up, it certainly should have been heard by us, and none of us heard it. 5 people sitting there, and nobody heard it. So, like I said, I know when I go home, I'm going to find out what's there because I knew there's going to be stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, getting back to the knocking thing that you were saying, and it all really goes together hand in hand as well. Do they want to talk to us? Do they want to, acknowledge that we're there and what makes us different from everybody else that's going there? And one example for me would be, just a local cemetery around here that I go just to,
because you can't sit still.
And yeah, because I got to do it. I got to get out of my house. But, there's times I go there and I have all my equipment out and I get absolutely nothing. And then, just recently I go there and I actually brought one of my friends. He was new to the investigating or whatever. And everything went crazy. And we're using the spirit box, and I forgot what was said, but you can watch it. It's on my Facebook page. And at the end of the session, he says something about gone, and then you hear a really loud bang on the ceiling right above me. So much, and you can hear it over.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You can hear it over everything. I mean, it's a loud bang, and you see me turn towards the ceiling and look at it and go, "Whoa, something just bang here." So, do they know we're there? Were they leaving and they just flew through the wood type of thing? Who knows? I don't know. We're still
look. People who know me, I do what's called a lot of times guerrilla investigating. I'll pull out my recorder any place I want to, unless you tell me I can't. Period. I don't care where it is. So we were at the Golden Tiki in Las Vegas, where allegedly Ghost Adventures was there, and there was supposed to be 3 murders there during a robbery. So it was our last stop before the airport. I pulled out my recorder, popped it on the table. My girlfriend's on the phone. You can hear her speaking on the phone, and in 20 seconds, I got an EVP. So I'm gonna throw it against the wall.
Yeah.
Well, one of the theories I have with all this is, you guys would agree that we're all beings of frequency and vibration. Would you agree? We all have a vibration. We all have a frequency.
Yes.
And I firmly believe that when we experience this, even if it's for a fraction of a second, but in that fraction of a second, the frequencies meld with each other. They just are the same thing for that second. And that's when we get it. Now, it may change a second later and we lose it. We only get one word. And I think that explains why everybody doesn't always see everything. Those frequency vibrations on both sides of the fence have to be in alignment at that particular moment. Just my thought.
Yeah. So that's I think either way, whatever it may be, even if we may never find out the answer, there's always going to be investigators like us trying to prove otherwise. So
and get new equipment.
Yeah, and get new equipment. Yes, and keep people that make equipment in business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. and then never use it again, but I'll keep buying it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, as long as it's got flashing lights, it's got to have flashing lights.
Well, yeah, it's got to appease the brain there.
The flashing lights cost extra. Ask Rich. Right?
It's like, ooh, cat ball. Go run through. Ooh.
Yeah. No, seriously though, all jokes aside, but just like Larry said, sometimes we rely too much on the equipment. I think
yes.
Some of the best feelings you can get when you walk through a place, and see what if you're attuned to it anyways, and see what you feel, man. And you listen to your surroundings.
Never discredit what you feel. Never discredit what you feel. It might be something.
Yeah. So
that was a hard lesson for me to learn. Coming from the cop world, and most of the time, if I wasn't on the instructional side, I was an investigator, detective, and I had to have physical, tangible evidence to take to court. That's how we convict folks, with tangible evidence. And I used to get drilled a lot because everybody said I stick up my hind end because everything had to be procedurally correct. And it still is. We still do it along that lines. But I have kind of opened up over the last few years, and I'm starting to realize that we may not be able to prove it, but what you feel, what you experience can be as important. May not be as evidentiary as I'd like. It certainly doesn't prove anything in a court of law, but it does happen. So I think you're right, Rich.
Yeah.
Well, this thing changed my life because I literally turned around my entire belief system, and now I can't scoff at anything at all because I can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to,
Yep.
but I can't.
Yeah. I had a tough time with mediums. I don't know how you guys feel on mediums, but I would work a case, would have a homicide case, and I would get mediums calling saying, the weapon's here, the bad guys there, whatever. Never turned out to be anything. And I had a very negative opinion on it. And it took me a long time to get cleansed, if you will.
Yeah.
I had a couple of experiences. There's a gentleman that I'm good friends with. He's in England, a guy named Chris Huff. Absolutely freaking amazing. And then I've had some personal experiences, and it took me a long while to kind of open up. Now I still think there's a lot of cranks out there, a lot of charlatans, if you will, but there are folks out there with that ability. Do you guys ever use them on your investigations at all?
I
I've
worked
been on a
one.
team where we have one, and
My only real
you know,
experience with one. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say, at least with one investigation, the best evidence was caught with that person, and we could actually hear what was going on, and it wasn't a I hear the individual wasn't saying I hear this, I hear this. They were just standing there, and it wasn't really interacting with us, but it hit her like a ton of bricks, and we could hear what was going on when it happened, and we got it all on film, and it was just holy smokes. um, I'm not gonna put her name out there, but you guys may know somebody that is married to her. Not me. Not
Yeah.
me. Somebody else. I think they got adopted by aliens. But yeah. it was really like I've never experienced that. And I was just like, holy smokes, man. That shit was crazy. I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and I think, getting into that. I mean, we could probably have a whole podcast on that. You know what I mean? It's,
Definitely.
it's like
Oh, I got one cooking in my brain.
like when you walk into a room and you feel something, and I
Yeah.
know Brian, he always feels the heaviness in the room.
One day.
Yeah, he's still waiting to feel that. Actually,
I am. I want to throw my phone at the TV every time they say that.
I've walked into a place and it's like it doesn't feel right. It never felt heavy.
No.
And then when you kind of figure out why it didn't feel right, it wasn't paranormal.
Yeah.
I don't discard it though,
Right.
because it's like, well, something was like you walk into a room and you're like something ain't right.
Oh, I don't discard it. I'm just jealous. That's all.
Yeah. It's like you're feeling something. We are animals. When you take everything out, we're just the smartest, and we tend to grow out of what we had as kids. I believe, and some people don't. They carry it with them their whole lives, and I wish great for them, But
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never had something just hit me like a ton of bricks, but it's like I've walked into a place and be like, you know what? Need to be careful here.
Yeah.
I've had.
Go ahead, Larry.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
I think sometimes, not to discount anything, but I mean, sometimes you walk into a place that looks like a haunted house, and you're going to walk in, and it does. It looks like a haunted house. You walk in, it's spooky. I mean, I investigated a mortuary in Texas that had a lot of illegal activities going on, and I'm not going to say it felt heavy, but it certainly felt ominous when we were alone in a 16,000-foot mortuary alone, to investigate. That was,
That's going to mess with you. It's going to mess with you.
Yeah. I mean, you're waiting for the door. Every time I turn a corner, I was waiting to see something on the inside of the door.
And don't you think some of that might though be psychological, just because?
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah. On the flip side of it, doing what I did for 40 years, we all would get used to walking into a building when we're looking for somebody, and or we're driving, going to stop a car, and just something says, wait till your backup gets there. Or you're going to a house, a burglary in progress, and you're like, wait for your part. It's just something tells you. So, in our business, I've experienced that. And I think that's also kind of helped in this business, frankly.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, I think, can also be psychological. You see the spooky, cool house. So, man, there's got to be something in there.
Yeah.
And
The
sometimes,
old high school thing, we're like, hey, this building's haunted, just to get people to go in.
yeah.
It's still cool. It's cool to go do, and you nothing happens, but it's like I could say I was there, and then you make up a story. It just keeps going.
Yeah. I think it's just, I think it's also to our intuition, man. Like Larry, you had to have intuition when you had somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
That sort of thing. I think it all boils down to that. It's our intuition,
Claircognizance.
I think we need to listen to it when we have it. We should probably listen to it when we have it.
Well, that's exactly
a lot of people. Rich, you'll understand this. There's a lot of people that go out on the water, and they're just sitting there on their little board, and then later on they go, it felt like something was there, but I didn't paddle in.
And a 10-foot tiger shark.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're missing a leg. It's like, well, you felt something was wrong. That was your animalistic instinct going, get your butt back to the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
And all the seagulls and barking seals are telling you, hey, probably not a place to be, brother. And then you get your leg taken. And I did feel something. Yeah, well, we gotta listen to that more. I know I do. If I don't feel right, it's not a place to be.
Well, that's what I was getting back to earlier. I'm in the cop mind coming up with evidence. I had sometimes forgotten about that intuition that I developed over the years, just being on the job, And I think if we become more in tune with that, I think that does make us better investigators, a little more open-minded.
Yeah, correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's all I have, guys. That's all I wanted to discuss today. Terry, back to you, sir.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I didn't really have anything, but unless I didn't dig up any stuff or look at any stuff. I've been working my butt off, so I didn't really have time. When I get home, I want to sleep. But anybody have any paranormal news going on in the world that nobody knows about right now? Probably not. I mean, we all know about a certain couple places that are famous, all the crap going on with them, but I haven't heard anything lately.
I got a question. I got a question for you guys. What do you think is a certain time frame for a place of a terrible incident to go investigate that's not, that people look at it as distasteful?
Oh, I got one.
Because I went to, just to give you an example, because when I told people I was going to go investigate the World Trade Center site about 4 years ago, people were like, oh my God. I'm like, if my whole mindset is I'm giving them a chance to speak and they want to say something, why not now?
So with that, how many years have gone by, right? So I wouldn't be one of the people who are like, that's kind of distasteful. It's been some time, some settling, And this is just me. I'm not. I'm just talking for me. But right after the hurricane / 50 tornadoes that happened this past season, I heard a few folks wanting to go, like, hey, we should go investigate, and I'm like, these people just passed.
That's just down the road for me, I might add.
Yeah, it just happened. It was right after it happened. It's like it just happened. The families are still dealing with this, like days after. To me, that would be distasteful. And I'm not saying that those folks are saying or doing it to be distasteful at all. They're going out there and they want to get some evidence, whatever. But we should all probably take a step back and think about that, because if it was our family member, you'd be like, hey, I don't know if that's cool. But Brian, in your situation, this happened in 2001.
Yeah. 2001, yeah.
So it's a long time ago.
Well, that's my question. What do you think is reasonable?
Yeah, who knows?
Can we go to Parkland now, to where the school was?
Yeah, who knows? Because people are investigating places that happened just a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
something
that's.
happened.
I think intent is what the thing is.
Yes,
I think
intent would be for me. It'd be like, why are you doing this? And
Also, how
if you have good
discreet are
intent,
you?
then you know.
yes,
How
I agree.
discreet are you?
I
Now,
agree.
now, I
Yes,
think a
yes,
couple years for after Parkland, I think would be appropriate. But if you were to go in there and set up a big tent with your team's
yeah,
banner on it, and you're all wearing shirts,
yeah,
and you're making a big deal of it, you're going to offend a lot of people. You
yes,
quietly go in, you've got your recorders,
yeah,
you got your equipment, you're just quiet. You're going to draw less attention to yourself. And let's face it, if you we're not in this to draw attention to ourselves. So
No, yeah,
go there. I think that makes a big
we're
difference.
we're not, we're not.
Yeah,
There are
but
some who are, and
there's
it's
some of that
like,
will. But
yeah,
those are the clowns that ruin it for the rest of us.
Absolutely.
yes,
yes,
agreed.
So,
I was
but
reading. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Larry.
after you, sir.
I was reading a review of the Brooksville Cemetery years ago before I went there, and there was a review that said I saw some paranormal investigators and it was very disrespectful. And I'm like, I don't know what these people were doing, or this person was just overreacting, but I'll never forgot that. So whenever I go any location, especially a cemetery, and I've done a lot of them, I always keep that in mind. You know.
I don't
some
like doing a
people,
lot of
some people are
cemeteries.
just not going to like it. Some people are
Yeah.
just not going to like it, no matter what.
I'm
You
not
know.
a big. I don't like doing cemeteries for that reason. I mean, I've done them, but we went to one. A former team member of ours took us to one locally, and I live right next to it. It's open 24. You can get in there. It's no problem. So okay, fine. Well, we went in there and we were doing nothing flashy rather, but we're just getting out of the car, starting to set up, and a golf cart rides up. No, I'm sorry, it was an actual truck came up next to us. What are y'all doing here? Well, we're just doing some research and things like that. Well, my wife's grandmother was buried here, and you've got no right because they do what we were doing. They figured it out quick and
Yeah.
screaming bloody murder. Now, we had every right to be there. The place was open, it was not off limits, but we just said, "Sir, sorry, we don't mean any
Yeah.
offense," and we
Yeah.
packed up and we left. That
Yeah.
happens a lot in certain cemeteries. So,
That guy, his heart was still hurting, and instead of fighting him,
mhm. Oh, there's nothing to fight.
y-
That's
yeah,
not worth the fight at all.
yeah,
Yeah.
his heart's still hurting. Just okay.
Yeah,
I don't have to do this today.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
That's a
Personally,
yeah,
I never understand why I ever get anything in the cemetery, especially if you're talking about intelligent. I know if I have the ability to come back as something, I'm not coming back to my cemetery. Like, I don't get it. Like, I just don't get
Yeah.
people like, why would they stay there? I'm like, I don't know. And I ask them, why are you here? Why don't you leave? Why are you at your cemetery? They always say maybe they're at their favorite place. Was your favorite place where you were buried? Like, why are you here? And that's someplace better than a cemetery. You know?
Well,
You know, it's
kind
funny.
of
It makes me crazy.
that's a question I wanted. I totally forgot until you mentioned that. The question I wanted to ask tonight. Um, so certain hauntings, people say they see the ghost or whatever, the spirit walk from here to there. Could that happen with that individual in multiple places? Not just where they live, not just where they worked.
Well, it depends. You mean the same
You know,
exact event happening in 3 or 4 places?
not maybe not even the same event. It's just so that was something they're still doing it because it was something that either affected their life or they were there all the time. But
Yeah.
we're people. We're at places like work, home,
Mhm.
school. If
I
you go
I
to
think
visit a loved one at a cemetery all the time, could that be a residual? You have residual personally at
I
different
think it's
spots.
if it's residual, but I think people make the big mistake of saying this place is haunted because Terry died here. Well,
Yes.
Terry may be there
Yeah.
for this reason, but if you don't think that they go wherever they want. They may be
Yeah.
stuck there because they
And,
desire to, but if they want to go other places, they do
and
it.
why do they desire to? That's always my question.
Well, here's a good question, Brian. Is not maybe an answer, maybe more of a question. The old school in Fellsmere, since it was built in 1916, there's not one recorded tragedy there. No kid died,
Right.
no fire, nobody was hurt. But the place is filled with kids. Billy's a great example. Is this the room you like to be in? Yes, sir. And we've had multiple experiences with Billy. So why are these kids there? There
Because
was
they had
nowhere.
to, because he wanted to be there. You asked him that question.
Bingo, bingo,
Well, at the
bingo.
Tampa Theater, I always ask, why are you here? And at the Tampa Theater, up in the balcony, I finally got my first response at the time, because we like it. There you go.
Yeah.
So who likes to be in a cemetery? That's my question. So he's in the school because he likes to be in the school. He told you that. So
but
There
they
are
don't always.
There are folks that like to be in a cemetery. You got those people that do the what do they call it? The grave markers where they.
etchings.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
They-
that seems.
There are
Yes.
people. They used to be. It used to be in our history that people would go to the cemetery and have lunch.
Picnics, of course, because
Yes.
that's what
Yeah.
family
No.
was.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why
So
they have those
maybe,
gravestones like that. Yeah,
yeah,
correct.
maybe we're interacting with those folks. Because you have people that actually that was a thing
Yeah,
that I didn't
absolutely.
know about until a couple years ago that people actually went and hung out at the cemetery.
Yeah, I
That was
shared
a
an
thing
article
to
about
do.
that on my blog,
Yeah,
on the
that was
page.
a thing to
Yeah.
do, which blew my mind. I was like, really? Like, I want
But
to go see
but
grandma and go home.
but going back to the school filled with kids. Maybe some of those kids died when they were 90. So why are they coming back as kids? Because once again, I don't think there's
They
that.
enjoyed it, enjoyed
They
school or
enjoyed
whatever.
it, but they enjoyed it at that particular age.
Yes,
They're
yeah,
not
yeah.
stuck in the body that they died in, so to speak. Here's a thought too, and I think this may I don't know if it's a thought on your question, but Einstein talked about in his general theory of relativity dimensions like 10 or 12 of them that sit next to each other. Could it be, just tossing this out there, that us interacting with people having picnics during an event in the cemetery, are those dimensions intersecting with each other at that moment?
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
that actually interesting story too, Brian. When we were at the train station down in Miami,
Yeah.
the museum. Remember when we were sitting there and we got that EVP on the box, the response that said, "You're in my seat." When I said, "Come, once you come and sit down with us," and clearly it says, "You're in my seat." Now I was thinking about that, and could we have been interacting with somebody that was actually having a dinner party on that night?
yeah,
And she was talking to somebody else, not us, and we just happened to catch that voice on another dimension. You know what I mean? It's like something like
you're
that.
in my seat.
Yeah.
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 Like, oh, I'm
That's what,
sorry.
and if that was the case, though,
Yeah.
Rich, does that blow our other theories of what the
Yeah.
paranormal is? So that's when
Oh
I get
God.
back to we don't really know what this phenomena is yet.
That's why I don't think
You know,
about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point, Brian.
I got enough to worry about. I want to talk to them. I want to really give them a chance to speak and communicate and help them if I can. But the background stuff doesn't affect me. I can't change it.
What if they're looking at us like we're the ghosts?
I've heard that
Yeah.
too.
What if those dimensions are
Yeah, right.
crossing over and they're doing
Yeah.
some work on their side of it? I mean,
Yeah.
Yep.
you
Yeah.
can go all sorts
Well,
of directions.
I'll wait for them to ask me what my favorite food is. Then
Yeah.
Okay, well, may happen.
Next time I'll get out of their seat and let them sit down. We'll never know.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like this is why I love the field. It's like
Yeah.
I just want to know, and probably never going to know before my lifetime is over. But I'm going to keep searching, and
Well, then come
it's
when it's over for you, Terry. Come back
awesome.
and tell us, will you?
Yeah.
Oh,
everybody knows
can.
where everybody knows where I'm going to be. I've already told everybody where I'm going to be haunting, so
Yeah.
they know where to look for me.
If I can come back, you best believe that I am going to be doing some stuff.
we need undeniable proof though, please.
Oh, you'll get undeniable proof. You might not want what you get, but you get it.
You could spontaneously, set a tree on fire or something. I don't know.
Like I'm going to make sure people know I'm there because that's what we
Me
want.
too.
Yeah,
I'm
me
gonna try
too,
not to
buddy.
hurt anybody. That's the one thing I don't want to be anything that affects anybody like that.
Negatively.
But scaring the crap out of somebody by doing something, yeah, I'm down for that. I'm down for the fear.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
But cool. Well, we're about to hit an hour, and I know Larry's got to take off. So
Actually, that plan changed. I got a phone call a while ago, and that changed, so I'm good to
okay.
go.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, you guys are down to keep going. I'm cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to take a bathroom break, but I know my wife is gonna be waiting for dinner soon. So
no worries. So what's in the works for any of you guys soon? We got any investigations going on? What's happening?
I've got between now and June, we've got stuff all over the place that we're doing. Got a event if anybody's interested, actually doing a public event June 7 at the uh, Waldo's Secret Garden, where you guys are going to be with me on May 17th.
17th.
But yeah,
17th. Yeah.
but on June 7th, we're actually doing a public event there that's going to be open to folks, and we're going to
Really?
be working with the folks at the Waldo's Secret Garden, kind of showing them a little bit about what we do and giving them what we hope to be a more realistic view of what this paranormal thing is all about. So,
I
take a
will
look.
try to be off on that day too.
Okay, all right. So that's other than that, we got all kinds of investigations. I am going up to Gettysburg. There's an event there August 23rd, and it's a scientific, more of a research type of seminar for a day. And my son and I are heading up there, and we're going to spend the first day in the battlefield park, of course, obviously,
Awesome.
and then go to the seminar and spend that next night trying to find some interesting stuff. Been to Gettysburg a couple times, can't beat it for events that go on. So that's the big stuff with me. But if folks want to hear what we're doing on our investigations, we do put some of our investigations up on our YouTube site just to share with folks what we get. So
yeah, Brian, we're going to. Are we still booked for the Baker County Jail?
We are. Yes, we are.
Yeah, we're doing that. What, the 21st? Is it June 21st?
I'd have to look, but I think so.
Yeah, June 21st. Okay. All right. Is that open to the public or no?
Yeah, actually, I do host some investigations. Here I am. There it is. Eventually, there it is.
There you go.
June. You say June 21st?
Yeah. Paranormaladventures.us. That's my Facebook page as well as my YouTube. When I host events, it's all listed up there, and you can get the details and where to DM me for all the rest of the questions you might have. That's it for the moment. I mean, we're going to be back in Stringer. I'm not quite taking the summer off because it's hot as hell down here, but we're going to take a little bit of a break, I think, till probably September or so.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be in Louisiana for 5 days. I got some really good stuff with my best friend in December who didn't believe in anything and then heard something. He's like, well, I'm not going to say I believe it, but I certainly heard that. So go back to some place, some locations in Louisiana in Cajun country.
Yeah. Yeah, you just got back. You went this past year, didn't you? Didn't you just get back?
Well, that was December, but that was my aborted birthday trip. But this time, Donna's going with me for my real birthday trip in October. So,
oh, cool, man, cool. Yeah, yeah. I don't have much going on at the moment. I'm working on a few private things here, and I can't disclose the locations at the moment, but I will let you guys know what happens with that. We've got board meetings that are going on to let me into these buildings, so we'll see what happens. That's it.
Nice.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Yeah, we went and did a day tour at one of these locations yesterday, as a matter of fact, and both my wife and I both walked into this room, and she immediately started feeling sick to her stomach and dizzy, but she didn't tell me, and I immediately started feeling dizzy as well. But I didn't say anything to her. I just thought maybe I, having a dizzy spell or something. And she turns to me and she was like, "Hey, do you feel sick?" And I was like, "Well, no, but I'm really dizzy right now." She's like, "Yeah, me too, whatever." So, and when we were done with the tour or whatever, we were talking to one of the ladies that runs the place, and we asked her about that room because there's been some paranormal investigators there before, and she said that room was the most active room in the place. So,
Rich, I got to interrupt you here.
Yeah.
Was this place in Melbourne?
Yes.
Does the color green ring a bell with you at all?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, we were the group they were talking about.
Really? That's awesome. Okay.
I was actually there yesterday myself, and
That's
we'll
really
talk
funny.
about it off there. I was there yesterday.
You were not there. Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but right towards the end, because we were meeting with some folks there. We'll talk about it off the air, though.
Wow. Great.
One of the other locations I want to investigate, I've talked to Rich about. I have a storage unit in West Boca, and the girl there knows what I do. She's like, "You should come here and investigate." She's like, "Think about everything that's here." And then I thought about it, going like, "This is basically just like a gigantic antique store." So I got 24-hour access to that place. It's huge. So I told Rich one of these nights, at least it's air conditioned. I could do that in the summer, And even if they see me and decide to come out, whatever, I don't care. I'm not doing anything wrong or whatever. If they tell me eventually maybe I got to stop, but I'm definitely going to do my storage facility. Think about it, seriously, all the stuff that's in there.
Oh, the attachments. Oh man, that ought to be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do. Yeah, so I'm going to do that one of these weeks coming up.
It's like a damn haunted museum in there.
Yeah, exactly. You never know.
Nice.
Anybody got anything else? Good.
I'm done.
You're done. All right.
Yeah. No.
All right.
I
That's
ain't
it.
got
See you
none.
later, guys. All right. Listen.
Yeah.
Larry, honestly, though, Larry, I can't believe that, man. That's crazy. We'll talk after.
Okay.
I'll see a couple of you on the 17th.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, actually.
And Brian, hopefully the stringer will go down and we can get in there.
Yeah.
But we did have a good time at the depot, so you know.
Yeah, it was.
But, stringer is my thing. I got to get in there. So I'll be looking forward to that. And
Place it's on my bucket list too. I've never been there. I want to go.
Really? That's the first place I saw my very first shadow figure there ever.
Yeah,
I'll keep
I've
an
been
eye
wanting. Just never worked out.
I'll keep an eye out for June 21. If you have anything going on for the public, I'll definitely keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you for letting me, host this episode. I appreciate it. And as always, it's nice talking to all of you. And and I think that's one thing that's important too in this community, our world we live in here, is to meet new people and experience new things and to hear the different stories about it. You know what I mean? It's to me, it's important. I think it's important to, everybody else too, because, we can come together as a community and go over these type of things. And, and I'm appreciative for all of you actually. And just a little tidbit, so thanks. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having us.
I know me and myself and Cordell, we want to keep stuff like this going. So, as far as we're concerned, it's like a coalition. You guys are part of that coalition, part of the team. You ever have anything, you're like, hey, we should talk about this on air. Let me know, and I'll get it started, get the link out, and we can all just shoot the crap. And like I said, I got a buddy of mine, Jeremy, Beyond the Badge Paranormal. He's up in Virginia. He wants to do this. I got somebody in Savannah. So I'm just opening this up to whoever, and we just have a team of people around wherever. Every once in a while, we just get together and talk about stuff.
Well, that's important. So for too long throughout the country, but it's all been really bad in this state. Groups like to talk about unity, but they really I'm not going to tell them where I'm investigating. I'm not going to share your evidence isn't any good, but mine's perfect.
Yep.
We got to knock that stuff off, and we've got to start working together as a team and just unification of this field. It's the only way we're going to get anywhere.
I totally agree.
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to do here, and I'm glad you guys jumped on board here, and we'll keep it going. There's going to be times I might send a link out. I'm not even going to be here, and just be like, hey guys, I'll come on just to let everybody in the room and then take off. But yeah, it's community to me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sounds like a perfect way to end
part of it. Yeah, we're all part of it, and there's some out there who may yell community but don't really want community. Whatever, man. You won't be on here, but everybody else, you'll be on here because it's open to whoever. It's open to whoever wants to be a part of something like this. We just come on and talk about paranormal stuff. I love it. I still do love having guests on, and we talk about them and all that. But this is probably my favorite thing to do is just talk and learn from everybody else, and it's awesome. So thank you all.
Thanks
for this, and we'll be doing this again. Let me know if you got ideas, the three of you, and we'll put something together.
Right.
We'll get some new folks on here. I got some cool names I'm going to bring on. One of them from Key West, I got to talk to him, make sure he's good to go. Um, and yeah, be
Nice.
awesome. You want to
All
know
right. Well,
about Robert Dahl? I got somebody for you. But
Awesome, man. Thank you.
yeah. All right. So, well, our guy Cordell isn't here. He's in a ship somewhere up there from space, getting whatever done to him. And he likes to say, stay spooky.
Yeah.
So stay
Stay spooky.
spooky, my
Yeah.
friends. And we'll see you next time. Thanks,
all right.
everybody.
Thanks. Bye bye now.
Thanks.
Larry, don't hang up. Rick.
Okay. I figured. Okay.